Hello and welcome. I want to test a new format where we are building something together live. For the first stream, I thought about doing an analytics project. In specific, we are covering financial data gathering with Python, data storage using SQL, and data access and a bit of visualization with Power BI. So my idea is to create a Power BI interface which enables us to compare different stocks. If that's interesting for you, be invited to code or rather construct along. For those watching my content and know that I'm an Apple fanboy, I've set up a Windows virtual machine here, as you cannot use Power BI on a Mac. I've already installed Anaconda on this machine, but nothing more than that. So let's get started with the financial data gathering part. So first we are just opening up Jupyter Notebook. And open up a new notebook here. Right, let's enlarge that a bit. And now we need one library which is not installed within the Anaconda distribution, and that's yfinance. That's the library which we're using to collect financial data. So we are going to install it. And have installed that. Now we can import some necessary library which we will need. That is pandas, yfinance, which we just installed. And that's it. No, one more we will need. That is a library which enables us to connect to an SQL database. So we are using from SQL Alchemy, import create engine. So I'm sorry, I'm on a English keyboard on that virtual machine and I have no idea how it is working. The German keyboard is buggy, so I'm just copy pasting that here. So might be a bit, inconvenient. But anyhow, we have imported all necessary libraries and we can start with pulling fundamental data for stocks. So I'm going to show you how it is working in general. So we're just taking YF ticker for, let's say, we want to have Microsoft, ticker symbol MSFT. This is creating a ticker object. When we are assigning that, that's insane. So and then we can just take a look at info. And as you see, now we are getting a lot of information in a dictionary. So zip, sector, full-time employees, city, but also a lot of fundamental data such as EBITDA, profit margin, operating cash flow, recommendation from analysts, and as you see, a lot of information on that stock. Okay. And we are going to use that over all stocks in a particular index. So we are going to take the Dow Jones Industrial Average American Index containing 30 stocks, and we are pulling these information and store that in a database. So these are the next steps. So first of all, we need to know which symbols are in the Dow Jones. We can simply read in a Wikipedia table for that. So yeah, list of Dow Jones companies. Here we have it, and somewhere is the list, and we can just read in this table and access this column of the table. So we're just copy pasting this link here in our notebook. Dow here it is. Here it is. Sorry for that. Reading in an HTML table here. So we're just providing the link. And with that, we're getting all tables on this side. We're indexing for the second table. So we can just use square brackets and then just index for the second table. And as you see now, we're getting all symbols here, right? So I'm going to access this symbol column here and store that in a list. Gonna call that symbols. And here we are. So we have our symbols, and now we can just loop over those symbols and pull those information what you just saw on Microsoft, right? So we're taking for symbol in symbols, then we are storing the information in a placeholder variable. Let's just call that inf, and then use yf ticker on the symbol and access info. And after that, we just want to store that in a list. So we are creating an empty list here. This execution was wrong. So we are storing that in list infos. And append the info to that list. Let's execute that. And again, with that, we are just getting all those info, so fundamental information, analyst opinions, and so on, in a list for all symbols in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So let's get rid of this for now. And while this is running, this will take some time because these are a lot of information, right? So this is a large dictionary, this is an online request, and this takes some time while this is being processed. We can install Power BI, right? So Power BI downloads Power BI. Then Power BI desktop. Doesn't work, so advanced download options. in English. Download. Going to take the 64 version here. And it's downloading. Let's open that up. I've read that before the stream, of course. And now it's being installed. So let's take a look at the notebook. Isn't through yet. So I just read the chat. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you, Paul. RH. Livio, I will upload this stream on my channel afterwards, so no worries. Thank you, Maximiliano. Where do you learn algo trading? Well, there are a lot of good resources. I will actually release a video in the upcoming days on this topic. So yeah, let's finish that for now. So Power BI is installed. And this is still running. How do you like Power BI versus Streamlit or Dash or Custom Flask Django? Well, Power BI is the business go-to tool, right? Streamlit is good for some prototyping and stuff like that, but Power BI is used in the corporate environment. Thank you. Review with JZ. Thank you, Ahmed. Chaps, no, not exactly. I'm working in data science. Yeah, this is taking some time. So of course you can also do that for the S&P 500. It's probably way more interesting, or your local index. So in my case would be the German equity index DAX. Or if you're Indian, you can do that for the Sensex. And yeah, compare way more stocks, but you see this taking some time. So now it's finally through, and we have a list containing all these information. I think I'm going to zoom a bit out here. It's a bit too close. Right, we have a list, and we can just wrap that list into a data frame. And we will get a data frame like this. So you see, we have a sector here, full-time employees, long business summary, a lot of information here, right? So all these information you just saw in some columns. So we can just store that in a variable here. Get rid of this cell. And now we can just write this data frame into a SQL Database, right? What I just saw is that we have to get rid of one column here because SQL won't be able to process this column, but let's not do it. Let's run into this error. You will see it in some seconds. So I'm going to write this data frame into a database. Before doing so, I have to define an engine connecting to SQLite. So I'm using SQLite here. You can also use MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, or whatever database system you are using. For simplicity, I'm using SQLite here. So I'm going to define an engine here using create engine and set up our database. So using SQLite, and give it a name. So let's just call that stockdata.db. Okay, this is our database, stockdata.db. And now we are going to write this data frame into a database. So df to SQL okay, give me a second. Yeah, how do we call it? Provide the database name here, so stockdata.db is our engine, so we have to give it a table name, and we are just calling that fundamental or fundamentals, right? And then provide our engine, which is our stock database, and also we don't want to pass the index of this data frame. Okay, so once we've done that, we have created a table fundamentals, but now you see that we are running into an error binding parameter 8, unsupported type from SQL. So this is the column I just showed you. So this is the company officers column here. So these are square brackets, so SQL cannot process this data. So we have to get rid of this column here. So df drop columns equals company officers, and just reassigning that. Okay, now let's try again, writing that into the database. New error, let's check. It was created the one time before, so we can just append that. So we can provide if exists append. Okay, perfect. Now we have created the table, so let's take a look at that. I have no idea how I'm writing this one here. So this underscore on an English keyboard. Sorry for that. Read SQL fundamentals. And the engine, and with that you see that we are getting the table. Right? Okay, so we have written data into a SQL database, gathered it with Y Finance. Now let's visualize with Power BI. So let's start Power BI. So quickly reading the chat, any good books for algo trading? Thanks a lot for the donation. Well, it depends on your skill level, right? Do you want a beginner book? Do you want advanced topics? It's hard to say. I've read from Ivis Hilpich. Can recommend that. For instance. Okay, so this is the Power BI desktop app, right? And yeah, with Power BI you can basically create dashboards using various data sources. So in our case, we want to connect our SQL database and compare the stocks. So we are going on get data. And as you see, you can connect everything: Excel, workbooks, Power BI data sets, SQL Server, text CSV data. You can even connect to a web data source, but in our case we want to connect to SQLite, so we have to get on other types here, and this is ODBC, so we're connecting to ODBC. And here, normally you are getting SQLite 3 here, but we don't have a driver, so we have to install a driver. So let's take connect SQLite to Power BI driver. So community Power BI is always the best source for Power BI problems. Trying to connect to a local DB file. Perfect, our problem. That's always good if you find your exact problem. You need to install SQLite ODBC driver. This is exactly what we need. Looks trustworthy. Yeah, I think this one should be fine. I've read that beforehand, of course. Now install. Okay, now let's check. I think we gotta restart Power BI. Maybe it's working like this as well. ODBC. Yeah, now we see SQLite 3 data source we have here, right? And here you can provide the connection string, and we are just copy pasting from the Power BI community again. So enter database and the path to the database file here. Okay, so where's our database file? Here, stock data. You can just take this path here. And stockdata.db. And here you can write SQL code, right? So, for instance, if you're just interested in only, I don't know, only sector full-time employees and dividend yield, you can only select those columns. I'm selecting all columns for now, which is not really the recommended way, because it's better to only pull what you really use. You will see that's getting quite messy in Power BI if you're doing it with a select star, which is pulling all columns from a table. Well, now I need to find star on the English keyboard. Yeah, I apologize for that, but it's not really something I can do here, so I can only learn to use the English keyboard here. So select star from the table name, which was fundamentals, and press OK. Okay, and now you see that you're getting this table here, right, from our database. And we can just load that. So quickly going through the chat. How do you evaluate your corporate job projects to these kind of projects? I mean, in terms of complexity or skills, is there a significant difference? Well, yeah, it kind of depends. So I would, of course, say there is a big difference between a, I don't know, 20, 30-minute tutorial and a project. But I think if you have those skills I'm frequently presenting, yeah, you have good chances, at least in my country. Hi, enemy shadow. I'm the PvP noob. Thank you very much. Will this stream be saved anywhere? Cypher Econ, yeah, I will upload it, even though it's a poor quality, I know. I apologize for that. Can you type name of book into chat? Yeah, it is the book which NTPC linked. 0-day threat warning. Whatever that is supposed to mean. So, okay, now you see that we have the data here, and you see we have all the columns, right? So we could, e.g., just give you an idea what you can do with that. You could, for instance, check out with a pie chart to start really easy, how the Dow Jones is split in which sectors, right? So you can go on sector here, and see, okay, 20% is tech, what's that, 16% is healthcare, and so on, right? So let's do some comparisons of stocks. So let's just open up a new page. So normally you are just putting in all kinds of charts into one page and try to have a lucid and a good dashboard here. But I'm just showing you some things you can do with that, and you can build it for yourself if you're interested in that. So first of all, let's take a look at a clustered column chart where we are just comparing the dividend yield. So our y-axis would be dividend yield, and our x-axis, let's take the short name of the company. And then you can pretty nicely compare, right? So you see Verizon, highest dividend yield, Apple, lowest dividend yield in the Dow Jones Industry Average. Lowest of those who are paying dividends, right? So if there are stocks who doesn't pay dividends, they won't occur here, right? So let's actually check if that's the case. So you can go on that, you can go on data and take a closer look at the granular data here. Right, and you can take a look at all the columns. So let me just quickly go into the data frame. Yeah, there are actually 2 companies without paying a dividend, and you don't see it in the chart because these are NAN values, right? So here you only see those which are paying dividends. Greetings from Colombia. Greetings back. Thank you very much. So why don't you plot these graphics simply in Python? Very good question. I would do that actually privately, but Power BI is a nice tool to create dashboards which are connected to various data sources. So you have to imagine in a corporation you have like thousands of SQL tables, and you wanna visualize insights, visualize data, and this is what Power BI is strong. Or various data sources, also Excels, CSV files, and so on. Right, and also you can, for instance, use Power BI, I'm not covering that in this video, to publish a dashboard to an online space, and people can access the dashboards and check, okay, what are our numbers currently, right? So it's a very interactive tool, and it is widely used in corporations at least. Okay, so where were we? We have our dividend yield here. Now, what else can you do with Power BI? You can, for instance, add a slicer, and let's just take the sector example. Then you can pick something and only visualize the financial services sector, for instance. So if we are just taking let's take the short ratio. Quite interesting. Short ratio and short name. And now you can compare the stocks with the highest short ratio. And when I'm picking now, for instance, financial services, I only see the stocks in the financial services sector here, right? So I see Visa is the company in the financial services sector with the highest short ratio. Amgen, highest in the healthcare. 3M, highest in industrials, and so on. So you see a lot of possibilities here, right? But you can build that on your own. You can take a look. There are way more things to compare, check out here, but this should give you a first impression what you can do with that, right? So you could even use a map. That's a quite funny thing in Power BI. So if we let's take the city. So where are those companies in the Dow Jones? Now you can see that you have a map with those companies, right? And you see a cluster here in the Bay Area. All right, but that's all it for this live stream. So as said, data gathering stored in a SQL database and connected to Power BI, very useful, commonly used in corporations. And yeah, that's it. And thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you, Alex. Greetings back to Cyprus. And yeah, I apologize for the keyboard issue. And I hope this was informative. And yeah, if you enjoyed it, I will go live from now on, and I will also improve my my speaking skills and stuff like that. I think it's better if I don't have the possibility to cut everything off what I'm doing when cutting my videos, and this kind of force me to speak freely, and I think it's a good support to improve my language and presentation skills. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in, and yeah, I'm looking forward to see you in the upcoming videos.